welcome to our Wednesday meditation for Holy Week. Today we're going to be looking at a different story than what we're used to. Instead of following Jesus' activities, we're going to be following Judas. But still, this kind of connects to the idea that Mike brought up on Sunday in this Palm Sunday meditation of who is Jesus. And it was a question for those who were singing Hosanna and laying down their cloaks and palm branches, but it's also a question that we wrestle with today of, who is Jesus? Was Jesus just this fairy tale figure who didn't really exist, who was just this kind of make-believe character? Is he somebody who really existed, but his followers turned him into some kind of myth or legend? Or is he just a human being who taught great things and got remembered for his teachings? Or is it, as we Christians believe, that Jesus was truly who he said he was, that he was truly God, that he was truly the Son of God, and that he came to save the world? And that's kind of the question that we wrestle with. And it's kind of the question that Judas seems to wrestle with, because he winds up taking a very different path from the rest of the disciples. And we see that path in Matthew 26, verses 14 through 16, where we say, "Then one of the 12, the one called Judas Iscariot, went to the chief priests and asked, 'What are you willing to give me if I deliver him over to you?' So they counted out for him 30 pieces of silver. From then on, Judas watched for an opportunity to hand him over." And that him, of course, is Jesus. And so Judas betrays Jesus, and we aren't really told why. We aren't really told what Judas's view of Jesus was. Was Judas fully aware of who Jesus was or not? Was Judas stuck in his own expectations of Jesus and then acted based on those expectations? Whether those expectations were of Jesus to be this kingly ruler, a king like David, who was going to kick the Romans out of Israel for good, and that Israel would be able to rule themselves again, and that maybe by betraying Jesus and kind of forcing him into a pinch, Jesus would kind of get that started a little quicker than he seems to be going. Or maybe Judas got a glimpse that Jesus' concerns weren't necessarily power and money, and he wanted to try to get as much as he could out of it before everything fell apart. We aren't told. And so we don't really know why Judas does what he does. But we do know that we wrestle with this question of who Jesus is too. That we bring our expectations to Jesus, to the Bible, and that those can lead us into maybe not the exact same place that Judas is, but lead us kind of to distort who Jesus is, to kind of betray who he really is and what his concern really is. And these distortions can be political. They can be thinking that Jesus is the cheerleader for our political party. It can be theological, that we have our pet theologies and we want Jesus to endorse that full-throatedly, and that there's, no way that we could be wrong in those things, or that there might be kind of a side that balances out that theology that we have. And so we can kind of take Jesus and distort him as well, and let our expectations try to shape who he is, rather than letting his actions and his words shape our view of him. And that's kind of our struggle, and that's where I want to kind of meditate on, is to let us focus on how we can get Jesus wrong. What things are in our way of seeing Jesus for who he truly is. And, we may not betray him like Judas did, but we can struggle in our own ways. And so as we kind of continue to go through Holy Week and see what Jesus is doing and how he acts in the midst of all these things, to let that shape our view of who Jesus is, and to wrestle with our own expectations and how they get in the way.